as John mentioned, Hashemame Cove is a strip of waterfront property between Town Beach and Albertson Lane, or the Soundview Motel. We, the homeowners, have built and rebuilt our homes throughout the years, as probably many of you have as well. 6 years ago, a few neighbors and I went to Ed Romaine's office, and we sat there and we went armed with photos, aerials, poster boards, and we said we cannot be the buffer to County Road 48 any longer. We explained to him that we really needed his help, that the County Road 48 was going to be breached. And a couple of days later, Ed Romaine had a site walk. Not only did he come, but he brought the Army Corps of Engineers. He brought, I get so emotional. He brought the DEC with him, and he also brought a congressman and a senator, and they did a site walk. We did receive a grant to start a federal study, which became the Hashemame Cove 905B reconnaissance study. Ed's never left us. He stood by Hashemame Cove every single day. And in December, we all had some serious damage. 2 houses went down, and his first question is everybody okay? The second question was, what happened? If it wasn't for Ed, Hashemame Cove would not have gotten so far with studies. And he's never left any of his Suffolk County residents. So it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce our legislator, Ed Romaine.
Well, I'd like to thank Lynn for the introduction. That was very nice and very kind of her. But clearly, Hashemame Cove is somewhat akin to the problems that we're having with erosion and coastal erosion. And some people are concerned. Some people are talking about climate change. A lot of debate about that. I don't know about climate change, but I do know that the sea is rising. And I do know erosion is taking away a lot of shorefront, and we've got to do something. Right now there's 2 studies underway, and unfortunately in the world of government you have to do a study before you figure out what it is that you're going to do. I'm from the school that I'd rather be half right on time than all right too late, but that's why I guess I'm not with the Army Corps of Engineers. However, that being said, there is an Army Corps study that is kind of stalled. One of the reasons it's stalled is the town and the county have made a commitment. The federal government has made a commitment. We're still waiting for the state to make a commitment. That's the big study that goes from Orient Point to Mattatuck, and that is kind of something we're waiting for. There's a smaller study just of the Hashemame Cove. That's going forward. The state has bought into that. I got $100,000 of county money that we put forward that will now go as the county match for that. That study's going forward. We hope to get that done. And when that gets done, we hope to look at ways that we can stabilize that cove and prevent continued erosion, because that's a major, major problem. And anyone that saw the winter storms, that saw the damage to Southold Beach, that saw the damage to Lynn's house and her neighbor's house, knows that that has to be addressed. So that's something that we're definitely very interested in doing. I'm going to talk about a couple topics, but really what I want to do at the end, and I want to keep it very brief because I'd rather take, if it's permitted, whatever questions that you would have. I don't know, is that permitted?
That's a question.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about dredging. I think most of you know that the county has a commitment to do dredging. Your trustees, I see Dave Bergen there, have worked diligently to get your creeks dredged. The county has worked to get those creeks dredged. We're working right now with Senator Laval about Little Creek to get the dredging moved from the fall to the spring, so that when it shows up in the winter, you can open up Little Creek. Because right now, we have the same problem, by the way, further west, Wading River Creek. It shows up in the winter. If you're dredging in the fall, that dredging goes for naught. So we're working with the senator to get DEC to see the light that maybe we should be thinking about dredging in the spring as opposed to the fall to deal with the winter show. But the county continues its dredging. We have major hydraulic dredging throughout Southold Creek, and a lot of it is because of your Board of Trustees. And again, I mentioned Dave Bergman because he stayed on top of that, as well as your other trustees. Stormwater runoff, that's something the county is involved in. We have a set pot of money that's competitive. We work with the town in making sure that we begin to address some of the needs regarding stormwater runoff. It's one of the major pollutants of the bay. The other major pollutant of the bay, and if anyone is interested, I will forward to you, this April, the Health Department finally completed a very comprehensive water resources management plan that talks about the dangers. Peconic Bay is not an impacted waterway. You should know that every other bay in Suffolk County is considered by the state of New York as an impacted waterway. And the major culprit is not stormwater runoff. It's nitrogen pollution, specifically from cesspools and septics. And that is a problem. And it is a problem that I'm spending a lot of time looking at and addressing, because I don't want to see that problem happen in Peconic Bay, as it's happened in Great South Bay, Moriches Bay, Quinnipiac Bay, and Shinnecock Bay. All of those bays, and a lot of the tributaries, rivers to the west, like Forge River, are impacted waterways. In fact, if you looked in Newsday yesterday, you would see that they're not allowing swimming at Heckscher State Park because the Great South Bay is so impacted with nitrogen pollution. And it is a problem that we're going to have to take a look at and look for solutions. Are there alternative systems that denitrify better than septic and cesspool? Yes. Again, there's an economic impact to that. We're going to take a look at that. So if anyone wants a copy of the county report, let me know. I'm going to leave some business cards. You email me, I'll email you the report. It's a large report, but I think it's worth reading because it talks about the future of all waterways. And that includes the Long Island Sound, by the way. So those are issues that I'm concentrating on. I see my good friend Hugh Switzer here. One of the leaders in trying to save Goldsmiths Inlet, the county. We got deeply involved. We met probably about 8-9 months ago. We had a discussion. We said, let's do this. The county came up with $85,000 to begin that study so that Goldsmiths Inlet can better flush and we can restore it to health, because that inlet and that pond behind it is suffering, and that study is demonstrating a couple things that we need to do in terms of improving the health of that pond and inlet. So I've kind of bounced around, but I take whatever questions you would have, if that's, again, permitted. And someone said it was, so if you raise your hand, I'll answer any questions you have. Yes?
On your stormwater pollution solutions, what percentage of the problem is caused by each of these causes? I mean, like...
Well, the cesspool septic system in terms of nitrogen pollution, which is the major threat to all tributaries, bays, the sound, the wetlands, that's about around 70% roughly.
Okay, so that's the biggest...
Oh, by far the largest and the biggest.
Okay.
And the only benefit to living out east is we don't have the density of up west. They have the density. The more dense areas, in the 70s, there was a lot of federal funding for sewerage. There is no federal funding for sewerage. When the Southwest Sewer District was built in the 70s, I think somewhere around 80 to 90% of that was funded by the federal government. We have 0%. You know, if I was to be a critic of the stimulus program that the president put forward 2 years ago, it is that he should have invested more money in infrastructure.